It's the 260 Podcast, live from Spiece Fieldhouse every Thursday at 7 p.m., highlighting all Indiana sports, featuring guests from the 260 area code and beyond. Live on YouTube every Thursday at 7 p.m. Just search the 260, also available anywhere you find your podcasts. And remember, when searching, there are no zeros in the 260. It's the 260 Podcast, live from Spiece Fieldhouse every Thursday at 7 p.m.
Yes, this is the 260. I'm Joe Walbert. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor of the 260, Dave Rickard, and we've got some big news in the 260.
Been waiting to tell this news, Joe.
We've been sitting on this news, and we're so excited. Pickleball news, baby. Let's get after it. We're so excited to have TK Herman and Scott Howard here, and man, big pickleball deal, big deal involving
10-year
Spiece.
deal.
And I tell you what, guys, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you.
I tell you, I'm so excited about Ace Pickleball Club coming into town, and I was telling Denise Claxton, I've got such an education this spring on pickleball. I'm an old football guy, so all of a sudden I had to learn about pickleball, and it's just exciting. We've got Abby and Matt Brandenberger coming up next too, so just an exciting time, guys, with all the pickleball. But tell us about this deal, man. What a big deal.
Yeah, we're super excited about the opportunity here to bring Ace Pickleball Club to Fort Indiana.
Yes.
You know, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the country. It has been for a little while. And, you know, the majority of people play the sport outdoors. And there are challenges with that. Number one, 70% of the country cannot play outdoors 60% of the year. And even when you can play outdoors, you're at the mercy of the wind, the rain, and the heat. And so you'll actually start seeing the professional pickleball tournaments are going to be starting to go indoors over the next year as well, because they've realized that there are challenges with playing outside. So could not be happier to bring this to Spiece.
Yes. Glad it's coming to the fort first.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, you know, we actually Scott and I have been to 14 different markets over the last 6 weeks, looking for buildings. Wow. It's very, very difficult to find a space that will house something like this, and we couldn't be more fortunate to have found Spiece and you know, partner with the owner of Spiece to bring this here to Fort Wayne.
Well, this is show number 18, Joe, and this is the first time we have not heard basketballs.
We're gonna horns. It's gonna be all about pickleball, man. We gotta get that renewal done, and we gotta hear pickleball, man. And Scott Howard, I mean, talk to us. How'd you get involved in this, and how'd you come across pickleball?
Yeah, sure. So TK and I actually worked together in our past lives. He owned a software development company called Aptera.
Yes.
We were downtown. I started off as just a normal individual contributor, needed to generate some sales, and eventually became his director of sales. Helped build the book of business, brought it to a point where he could sell it. And then because of sort of the success I had at Aptera, I made out decently well with the company that bought his company. So in exchange, if I wasn't going to work for their company, I had to sign a non-compete and not work for a year. And at first that was hard because I did try to work, and essentially my attorneys looked at my non-compete and just said, best thing you can do is just actually take the vacation unless you're going to go into another industry.
Okay, so here are you two guys. You guys are hard-nosed business guys, okay? So I want to hear about the conversation, because you guys have had success in different industries. You're business people. What was that call like when you guys talked and you're like, I think we can do pickleball, okay? I mean, take me through that. How do guys who are successful in business like TK and you, Scott, all of a sudden you guys are going to get together and we're going to put capital into pickleball?
Well, we should back up a minute and tell the pickleball story with Scott, and I'll tell it, and you can fill in the gaps. I think it's fun. So I live out in the country and have a pickleball court at my house. And last summer, decided to have a few guys that I used to work with come over and play. And Scott is a former college athlete, and
What did you play, Scott?
Basketball.
Really? Where at?
So I walked on at Southern Indiana.
Really?
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, good program.
So you played basketball at Homestead and then went there?
So I actually didn't play. So I played my first 2 years and ended up having not the greatest attitude. Wish I could take it probably all back. And so did not actually play those last 2 years. Played 2 years at AAU basketball at the end.
So
The
you
coach
played here.
Hardis, who was the
You actually
assistant
played
coach.
in this building.
No, I'm older than this building.
Okay.
I graduated in
You look young.
'99. This building, I think, started to take off in AAU basketball. The places I played for, like, AAU was, like, literally the YWCA was, like, a spot that we played
Interesting.
with through the Walter Jordan League.
Yeah, we had Walt
That's
on.
one of
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
guests we had
Nard
on.
Hollins' dad did a lot of
Oh, yeah.
work
That's great.
in that
Great
time. So I
names.
played a couple teams that he put together. But he was a kind of a sort of a mentor and vouch for me in a lot of ways. And so he kind of gave me that shot down south. And quite frankly, I didn't really follow through, if I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't have the work or there's a lot to it, but at the end of the day, to be a college athlete, you got to actually really, really, really want to play. And I think at that point in my life, I had decided
I'm ready to move on and
Exactly.
chase some other endeavors, huh, TK?
Regardless, though, Scott is, and I've worked with Scott for quite some time. He was a member of our sales team for a long time, and then our director of sales. And he is, I call him hyper competitive. And so he comes over and had never played pickleball until last summer, and starts playing. And I jokingly say that he decided, I think on the first day, that he was going to become a professional pickleball player because he starts going to tournaments. I'm like, man, you're taking this seriously. Like, we're just kind of hanging out, having fun with some old friends. And he ends up in a tournament in Las Vegas in December of this past year. Yeah.
Wow.
And he's texting me pictures of I think it was Mandalay Bay. They turned the conference center into pickleball courts.
Really, at the Mandalay Bay?
Yeah. And
I used to go to IRS seminars in there, man. You know what I mean? Now you've got
Sounds a little
pickleball,
more
man.
fun than yours.
Pickleball's much better.
Yeah, and so he's texting me pictures saying, we need this in Fort and this would be amazing. And I'm like, that's an interesting idea. And I was kind of looking for the next thing.
Because you was Sky Zone.
Well, I owned, I co-founded and was the co-owner of Aptera, which is a software company here in town.
You did well with that.
We sold that in 2021. I also was the co-founder and co-owner of Sky Zone. We actually own 3 Sky Zones, Fort Wayne, Toledo, and Mishawaka. And we sold those also in 2021. So I was business-less, if you will.
Right, but this has gone right into your realm.
Yeah. And I think, and also I've been an entrepreneur. I'm 51. I've been an entrepreneur since I was at the age of 26, I think. And so, I was looking for the kind of what's the next thing. And I just, after he threw out the idea, I'm like, that's interesting. And we talked about doing something together. We've become good friends over the years. And it let it sort of marinate in my head for a couple of months. And then I'm driving down the road one day and I'm like, I wonder if there's a franchise, for this. And in fact, I actually thought to myself, I wonder if the guy who started Sky Zone, who I've become good friends with, is into this, because it's kind of up his alley, and he'd sold Sky Zone. And I went home that day and I Googled pickleball franchise. And the first thing that popped up was Ace Pickleball Club, and they had this is like first week of February, they had just announced the week before that they were going to franchise, and it was the first brand to announce any kind of a franchise around indoor pickleball. Wow. And so I started reading the article, and son of a gun, if you wouldn't believe it, but there were 2 Sky Zone executives that
on the board.
That came up with the concept, came up with the idea. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
You got to be kidding.
Yeah, I
Talk
know
about
I know these
ties.
guys.
Yeah.
And so I had their cell phone numbers and just reached out and said, what are you guys doing? And that's sort of kicked off the conversation with Scott and me and them. And then, we kind of went to them and said, look, if we do this, we don't want to do just 1 or 2. We want to do 10. We want to make this a big thing. And we were the second entity, if you will, to sign the franchise agreement. We're the first one to have a building leased, and Spiece is the first building that's leased under the pickleball brand.
Fantastic, brother.
Yeah, and so
260, baby.
Yep.
yeah, and so our short-term goal is to have 5 locations open in the Midwest by the end of the first quarter, and our ultimate goal is to have 10.
Wow. Joe, as usual, we're number 1 in starting things. place.
But
I'll
tell you what's unique about Spiece is this is about double the size of what Ace wants for a facility. So this is 66,000 square feet that we've leased. And at first Ace was a little gun shy about having somebody commit to that big of a park. And we said, you don't understand, Spiece is iconic.
Yes.
Spiece was obviously, back in the day with youth basketball, was the focal point of youth basketball, certainly in the Midwest.
Right.
And that luster's kind of worn out a little bit over the
It
last
has.
few years.
It
And
has.
so we looked at this as a massive opportunity for us to bring that feeling back to Fort Wayne, but through pickleball. And the great thing about Spiece is, for the Fort Wayne community, it's centrally located, right? So rather than having two facilities, we can have one large one. Secondly, for us to be able to bring in large tournaments and make it a regional draw, the infrastructure is already here. Hotels, all that.
This is what I've been telling Joe. The economic impact that this is going to have for the hotels, the restaurants.
It's huge.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we're excited about that, and that's really our goal. Our goal is to put Fort Wayne on the map. This, and when
I think getting advertisers around this area is going to be easy for you.
Yeah, when we open the doors, it'll be the largest indoor pickleball facility east of the Mississippi River.
Wow.
So
Now how about marketing that?
Yeah.
See, I love that. Now you have a story to tell.
66,000 square feet, and they're putting in 21 courts.
Well, so additionally, when they said 24 courts on the news, we were going to go to 22. We've decided to combine two of the courts and make a center court. That's a
That's like a
tournament
championship
level.
court.
That
Yeah,
again
bleachers around it.
claims
Yeah, I see.
that it's the best center court in the United States.
That's
to play a tournament
fascinating.
game.
That's great. So you have a center court, yeah.
Yeah, because I think what we're doing here, and I know that there was a picture of.
Sonner, you got some pictures up for us?
Yeah, there was a mock-up of the facility in Roswell, Georgia, which is the first location for Ace.
Look at that, Joe.
Wow, that's beautiful.
But these are going to be, professional grade. Basically, picture the most professional grade tennis court that you could possibly have. This will be that, but for pickleball. And
I
so
know this is going to make Abby happy because one of the biggest things I took out of her interview when we had her on, basketball courts, the ball skips, and it's not any fun to the real pickleballers.
Yeah, and you
No.
get reflection off the wood also.
I actually played at Spiece. When you guys, I don't know who ran it, but tried to open it. I played with Troy Whelan. The Brandenburgers would know him, and we played singles here.
And it just didn't.
It wasn't fun.
It wasn't fun. huh?
Yeah, and so it'll be a great experience, because really in Fort Wayne there are places to play outdoors on dedicated pickleball courts, but other than that, places to play indoors, it's either on a gym floor or a tennis court with painted-on lines, and it's not the same experience.
Right.
Well, we're also
The color
interested.
scheme, it's just it's
Oh, look at that. It's just
bright.
beautiful. It's bright. It's beautiful. You know what also it looks, Dave? It looks very modern.
Yeah.
It's a sport that when you look at it visually, it looks very modern. And, Sonar.
I'm looking at this picture here. There's a lot of poles. They don't have that here. You guys are wide
Correct.
open.
Yeah. This is a very, very, very unique space. In fact,
And this is like perfect for you guys.
Yeah, when we were really talking with the Ace people about this particular location, again, there were question marks like, well, okay, hang on, what is it? And so I literally walked around with the GoPro, put it up, in a private link on YouTube, sent it to him so they could see that, and then we actually had one of the Ace designers fly out here and walk through, so he could lay eyes on it, because when you walk, it's one thing to see
see
picures or a video, but when you
there
actually,
live.
you could feel the energy. In here, so he was he left that. This was like just a couple weeks ago. He left that experience just really, really excited about it. So.
Or our colleague Sonar with multi-format, we talked a little bit, since you're going to have a championship court, are you going to be doing videoing or streaming any of these big matchups? So, we'd love to be involved in that, wouldn't we, Sonar? Because we'd love to come down and capture some of that. Maybe Matt and Abby could do a little play-by-play for us since they know the game so well. But, man, just exciting,
Will
man.
will you be streaming live?
Yeah, my assumption would be yes. I'll say this, that
Some
we're
of the big
super
ones.
early in the whole process.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so, there'll be a lot of opportunity for growth and technology. But I will tell you, one of the things that's unique with Ace is they have already struck a deal with a vendor that provides video technology for tennis, and they're adopting that for pickleball. So it's called PlaySight. And so you'll be able to, if you're a competitive player, you'll be able, like you play a match with your friends, you'll be able to go back and watch the match on your phone. They've talked about having features in at some point in time where if you're not a competitive player but you want to share a reel on Instagram or Facebook, you can do that.
Okay.
And then they're also going to be testing next week when they open in Roswell in a couple of courts, instant replay. So if you want to go back and look, now they're testing that because they're not sure how much that would slow the game down, and so they want to kind of see if that's a possibility or not. But that's one of the opportunities and advantages that I think that we have being a part of a franchise system.
Sure.
Is we've got people behind the scenes that are constantly looking for ways to innovate and bring new things, to the game, and new things that we can bring to our customers. Same experience. What's interesting is it's the same experience we had with Sky Zone. They were constantly innovating, and the interesting part about it is that they are hiring a lot of ex-Sky Zone people. So these guys are very, very well versed, very knowledgeable, very experienced in running a franchise network and building a brand.
I think you guys are really on the cutting edge of a boom, of an industry boom.
Tell about your bowling.
Well, I was telling Dave and I were talking, and I was talking with Denise, when I did a lot of, being with my financial background, I did a lot of studying of charts and stock charts over the years. And if I remember right, late 60s into all the 70s, the bowling boom came. And it was a boom where I feel a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, TK, but I feel a little bit like pickleball can line up with that, because bowling was such a boom because it was something that couples could do or people could do. They could socialize. When I learned about pickleball, I learned from Denise Claxton because she was out with her kids playing and just loved it. And my wife has joined the league and plays and loves it. So you're hearing all these different types of people can play this sport, and it reminded me a little bit of bowling, because bowling was such a big social event in the 70s, and it was one of the biggest roaring industries, Dave, as it took off in the 70s. And it is, and it just pickleball feels a little bit like that, and I feel like you guys are kind of on the beginning of it, TK, and the cutting edge, Scott.
Through Denise, if you remember.
I hope you're right.
Pickleball actually started in 1965.
Yeah.
And we didn't hear about it in Denise.
Never knew about it in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, when Abby and Matt came on the first time, TK, I was out in West Virginia with my big butt going across the mountain, But I really thought the show was fascinating because I didn't realize pickleball had been around that long. But from what I learned from Abby and Matt and Denise, it seemed like COVID and the lockdown kind of really unlocked that sport.
I would totally agree with that. I think that I think it's funny because when we put our pickleball court in our house, we were doing a pool, and the yard was all torn up. And I was talking to my wife. I'm like, "Hey, what if we do a sport court? Because the yard's torn up. If we're going to do it, let's do it now." And we actually talked we should make a tennis court, and we're going to have basketball. We had shuffleboard, and put shuffleboard on there also. And then like, not everybody can play tennis, and neither of us. My wife and I had never played pickleball before, but we knew that was kind of an up and coming thing, and so hey, let's do a pickleball, court. And we just started out with that, and then started inviting a few friends over and having a good time. And I think, and I was actually razzed quite a bit by some of the people that I worked with. Not Scott, you didn't, I think, but some of the other ones when I said I was putting when I said I was putting a pickleball court in and a shuffleboard, they're like, "What are you doing? Building a retirement community at your house?" Right? But
or a cruise boat. Hey.
Yeah, but it's amazing to see. I was just telling a couple people before we went live on the air that the best market research that I could ever see happened last week. So we have 5 kids, and our youngest is 18, just graduated high school. And
where do you go to school at?
Carroll. And so he would have buddies over all the time, and they'd play basketball. They'd move the net out of the way and play basketball. And then last Thursday he goes, "Hey, can I have some buddies over?" And I'm like, "Sure." So there's 8 guys that come over, and I look outside. It's like 6 o'clock, and they're playing pickleball. And I'm like, that's cool. And so at midnight, I was getting ready to go to bed. The lights are on. The court's lit, and they're still playing. And I walk out there, and I'm like, "You guys are still playing pickleball?" And they love it. And they're like, "This is the coolest thing ever." So I told them what we were doing here at Spiece because none of his friends knew, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna be there. We can't wait to be there." And so I'm like, "This is perfect market research for us because you're seeing that." moved down market in terms of age for sure. I know Scott's witnessed that as well.
And Scott, what's been some of the other feedback in the community? Because I'm hearing a lot of excitement in the 260 over it. What else are you guys hearing in the community?
I talked to the Fort Wayne Pickleball Association, Tim Heffron, a lot, and their big mission was to get as many courts out as they could. And just the idea that we're bringing 21 courts to the area, obviously, I think excites everybody. I think also the fact that we're trying to make it something of a mecca of pickleball in the area is something that I think is going to give it staying power. All the feedback I've gotten has been pretty much overwhelmingly positive. And that the excitement's there. I get calls all the time about make sure we get launched by October, that's like
won't be inside.
That's it, hopefully, but that's just the kind of excitement I'm getting. I mean, people are calling me right now. So.
Joe, if you remember when we first started learning about all this, the city put in 33 courts last year?
Yeah, 33 courts.
And they're putting in 21.
I know.
In one spot.
I know, in
Indoors.
one spot. I mean, what an undertaking. But I love it because personally myself, from playing football in college, I can't really play tennis anymore with my knees.
Yeah.
And as much as I love basketball, I can't really get up and down the court. So
Tear Achilles.
Yeah, exactly. So pickleball, I'm excited about it.
Well, a couple of the stats that I think are super interesting is one. I think I mentioned there are 38,000 courts. Did I say that? I was saying this earlier.
38,000.
There are 38,000 courts in the United States right now. And between now and 2030, by 2030, the estimates are because of the growth of the sport, there'll be a need for an additional 240,000 courts across the country.
Wow.
And then for every tennis court that exists currently in the U.S., there are 30 tennis players. For every pickleball court that exists in the U.S., there's 250 players.
Wow.
So there's a significant need for more courts. So even though we're putting this in here, there's still going to be a need, for courts in other places for sure.
And that's why you're going to branch out and put out another 10 you want.
Yeah, well
10 locations.
10 locations, yeah.
Now, if I'm stepping on Abby and Matt, I apologize. But with that said, I mean, do you guys foresee this the next 5-10 years? And Abby and Matt can talk about this too. Is this going to be something where we're going to see a lot of big professional leagues blow up with this? I mean, Scott, do you think that do you think some night that on a Saturday night I'm going to be sitting on my couch at home or watching YouTube or something, and I'm going to be watching this big
ESPN.
Professional tournament? I mean,
and then all of a sudden I see pickleball and I'm like, really?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you think that we're just on the beginning of maybe a big professional pickleball circuit?
100%. I mean, they just signed major channels like CBS, ESPN, obviously ABC. So, I mean, most sports out there, there's lots of sports, haven't signed those types of contracts. And I think the most intriguing thing about pickleball is, you're an ex-football player.
Sure.
I played basketball.
Yeah.
There's been every player that I've seen that played pickleball, they've come from different backgrounds. I've personally never seen that in sports. I mean, typically...
Yeah, you just don't see it. You don't see guys cross over like that. Because, I mean, obviously, I can't play basketball anymore. I don't like golf. I don't have the patience. I like physical things. I can't play tennis, but pickleball, I can do that.
Frankie Pena.
I know Frankie Pena, the baseball guys would love it.
Baseball guy.
Because you're still competitive, and you guys show it.
You would
Because you
think
guys are
his
competitive
knees
in
are
business. I know. And Frankie's a competitive guy.
Yeah.
Frankie's out there. I love that. He's humping and dumping with the trash, I love that.
With him being a catcher, his knees would have been
I
gone
know.
by now.
And these guys are competitive. And I tell you what, I would love Walburn Financial Management, and Denise, don't slap me. I know you're out there listening, watching. I'd love to have Walburn Financial Management sponsor the first 260 pickleball tournament. Woo! How awesome would that be, brother? That's what I'm talking about. How awesome, Dave. I mean, with this beautiful facility, the first obviously you guys are going to have a lot of tournaments. Maybe we can make it like, I don't know if it's more of a better players, Abby and Matt will know all that, but man, how cool would that be to see like some of those financial sponsorships and stuff
like
come
TK
in
getting in early.
I'm just excited about it, guys, and it's just, man, and it's so good for the community, and I think it's going to get so many people involved too. Dave, they always talk about you got to get your kids off those devices, right, Sonar? You got to get mom and dad out of the house. You got to get out and do stuff. Man, what better sport, man? What a better way to get people off the couch in the summer and get them together. And then what I've learned too, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, and again, I want to hear from Abby and Matt on this too. But I've heard there's also, after people play, there's a lot of socializing, and people get together and have a good time, and it's almost like a really, a really social club.
Well, I think what's unique about the sport is, like, for example, I've had a couple people ask me if it's similar to racquetball in terms of the craze, right? And I think the comparison is interesting because racquetball took off like crazy, in the 70s.
Yeah.
But it's different in the sense that racquetball takes some skill. I mean, it's a very fast-paced sport, and there's definitely skill involved, but it's not social.
Smaller
Yeah,
tennis.
and it's not social
At all.
And that's the
guys.
big thing
Guys
about
played racquetball, took a shower, and went back to the firm.
Yeah, and like what's been unique too, like, so Scott and his wife have come over to our house, when we would have couples over, and his wife had never played pickleball, had never picked up a paddle, ever, and my wife is new also to the sport, and we can have as much fun playing with them
Sure.
as we can have playing with the guys, on a Thursday
Right.
morning when they come over.
No, okay, now that night, now you just piqued my interest. So you can have just as much fun playing with somebody like me and somebody else who's never played versus playing somebody like Scott who's real skilled.
Oh yeah. Now, I would say that for sure. We just had for 4th of July we had I think 30 family members, my wife's whole family plus some extended family came over, and we had a pickleball tournament. That was the main focus of the day, and we did random. We put everybody's name in a jar, and this jar over here was people who had some exposure to pickleball, maybe have played tennis or pickleball, and this jar you had nothing, and we
Wow.
paired the two together, and.
How'd y'all play for money?
We did not.
Everything I do is for money.
But,
you know what I mean?
but it was super fun. It was just a really, really good time.
Wow. That's
And I would
exciting.
call myself real skilled. They're real skilled, Matt. And Abby.
Oh, I know.
man.
That's why we're excited. We're gonna do a few more minutes with you guys, and we're gonna actually we're gonna do a first time we've ever done this, Dave. We're gonna actually hand the show off to Abby and Matt because we just feel like their knowledge of pickleball and they're really well known in the 260. But man, whew. So what do you think, man? Here you're starting this. Obviously, you guys are good business people. TK, what's the 6-month plan? What's the year plan? What are you thinking out 5 years? Is this going to be, as a businessman, are you really going to hang your hat and your time in this industry?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about it. So like I said in the beginning, Scott and I have a plan to have 10 facilities around the Midwest.
Sure.
And right now we've got 4 locked down. So it's our first 5 are our goals to have open by the end of the first quarter of 2024. So we've got Fort Wayne, Cleveland, Louisville, and Maryville. I wouldn't say they're all locked down yet, but we're either past the LOI stage and just starting the lease stage, or we have the leases already. And then the Indianapolis location, we're still in the LOI stage on that. And so part of our selection process also was picking which parks we could get open the fastest. Let's pick those 5 first and focus on those. And then while we are rolling those out, it's going to be a lot of work coming up for sure, but as we're rolling those out, then we'll be looking at the next 5. And we've already started having some conversations with a few people that we feel like we can put in place that can be great operators. I'm not a detail guy, so I need to find somebody that can execute on the details, and I've all the confidence in the world that we can make this happen and be and it's going to be a great business, and I think what made the software company that we had really successful was we were hyper focused on the experience of our clients and the experience of our employees too, and we'll take that same, and we built an amazing culture at that
So
company.
you feel like that's going to pull your success with the software company? You're gonna put a lot of those same strategies in place with this, TK?
I always say this.
It's not broken.
Yeah, obviously it's a completely different industry, but I tell my kids, we have 5 kids, I tell my kids this all the time, that I don't believe being successful in business is really that difficult. I didn't say it's not hard work. I didn't say that it's not risk taking and long hours. That's all true, but being successful in business is all about creating a great experience for the customer or the client, and then also the equally so for the people that work for you, and if you can do a good job with that, and there's great examples. Sweetwater is probably one of the best examples around too of that you can buy most of what you can buy at Sweetwater on Amazon for less money, but there's a reason people go to Sweetwater to buy it, because it's the experience.
Yeah.
And we want to
Great point.
We want to be be, especially even outside of ACE, just period. Scott and I want to be hyper focused on having like the Mercedes-Benz of indoor pickleball facilities, and so
It looks like it's going to be from those pictures.
yeah. And so, for example, one of the challenges is finding buildings that have the right ceiling height, and we've found some buildings that are in good
And you said
locations.
the four courts is 23 feet, and that's 30 feet.
It's 23 to 25 on the one side, and the other, and the south side is 30 feet. Yeah,
Wow.
which is our our minimum is 18. We found some great buildings in great locations with great lease rates that are 16.5, 17.
And why do
feet.
you need the height?
Because when you're playing, if somebody's lobbing the ball up, you don't want the ceiling or the joist
Okay.
to interfere with
So-
the play. And so rather than jumping on what potentially looks like a good opportunity and sacrificing on ceiling height, we would rather just say, hang on, let's wait
We'll
for the
find
right
something
building.
else.
Yeah, because and the risk that we're taking is somebody else is going to come in and put
Sure,
one in there.
sure.
But we believe also that when we come into that market and we have the right like specs for the building, that'll set us apart.
Yeah. Realistically, how fast will this be opened here at Spiece?
I would say we'll be open by the end of the year. Scott wants it to be open by October 1st. I do too.
I heard October 1st, but I'm thinking there's a lot to do.
There is a lot to do. Yeah. So we've already engaged with a general contractor and an architect that's already in the works right now. We should have a semblance of a plan next week. And begin hopefully moving forward here in the next couple of weeks. There's in Spiece, there's a fair amount of renovation, but it's not overwhelming. Like, for example, the location that we're going to be doing in Louisville, there's a significant amount of renovation we have to do there. And so,
No, this building's pretty good.
yeah, but the sheer size of this is a lot also. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Chuck's actually done a lot to
He
fix
has
this
done
place
a
up.
lot. He's done an awful lot.
He has, and I will say, and shout out to him too. He was
Yes,
great to work
yes.
with. He just spent a significant amount of money redoing the floors a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Now he's trying to
And,
rip them out.
and when we sat down with him, and I'm like, floors got to come out. Because he was like, can we just lay on top of the floors? And I'm like, I don't know. Somebody do some homework on that. And we came back, we're like, floors got to come out. And
Yeah.
you could see his like face drop.
But we're so excited for Chuck and Spiece and Johnny Z being involved in this, Dave. And,
This is huge.
it's so huge, and it's so great to see this facility. I think it's going to kind of bring the facility back to life.
I do. I want to give a shout out to
that was
John
so demanding.
Zelnick, because John used to work for us at Aptera, and he's how we found out about this
Right.
space.
Yeah.
He saw, I think on LinkedIn, a post that had tagged Scott and me, and he reached out via Instagram and said, "Hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but they're looking for a new tenant to come in and take over the basketball
Oh,
area."
boy,
I'm like,
Johnny.
whoa, that's interesting.
Atta
So,
boy.
yeah, so huge shout out to John. I really appreciate.
I mean, in all reality, Spiece was overflow for gym rats.
It was, and it felt like at times we'd be out here doing the podcast, a lot of energy, excitement, and then it just felt like other times, this place really needed some new blood or some new life kind of breathed into it. So I'm excited,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited what it's going to do for the economy with you guys. And last question as we finish up this segment, Scott. What are some of the things that you guys are hoping that you're gonna, any good business deal, you have to have the ability to reciprocate. As a community, we need to reciprocate the capital investments you guys are making in this. So what are some of the things you guys are hoping for and looking for in the community to get behind you guys and to make this successful?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I hope they just give us a chance. I think TK hit it on the head. If we focus on producing a great customer experience, which I feel like I have some intimate knowledge with since I am a pickleballer myself, I think if we focus on giving a good experience, I think the community would support us just by honestly coming out and playing pickleball.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what.
We will promote them big time, Joe.
We will promote them big time, and I tell you what, we are so excited. And you know what? Thank you for making the investment and the commitment in the community, too.
Yeah.
People just don't realize when people have the guts to put their capital behind an idea. I think that's awesome. So, man, it's pickleball night, Dave, and you cannot talk about pickleball on the 260 unless you talk about Abby and Matt Brandenburger.
Let's do rapid fire with them first.
Oh, you want to do a little rapid fire? Okay,
Right.
let's do a little rapid fire. We're
We've
going to have
already
this.
done with it, Matt and
I don't
Abby.
even know what that means, but it sounds
Okay, well, you know what? We've talked hardcore business. We've done our stuff. Thank you, Dave. You know, we always like to do a little rapid fire. It was something that Sonar's beautiful wife, Crystal, came up with. It kind of what it does, it kind of personalizes our guests. So we'll have kind of a list of questions. Dave, if you want to start with we're just going to kind of ask you quick questions and just want to get your response.
To both of you, what is your favorite restaurant in the fort?
Cork and Cleaver.
Good call.
Nice. Can't go wrong.
I'm going to say Tolan. That's my wife's favorite, and I enjoy going to dinner with her. So, yep, we
That's
frequent
good
Tolan.
answer for the wife.
Good answer. What are you guys listening to, man? I mean, and Scott, do you listen to a little music when you play pickleball, or not at all? Are you just so dialed into your partner and who you're playing, or
Trash talking.
what do you?
Well, he does that too.
So
Does
the,
he?
the music
What are
I
you
listen,
listening to right now, brother?
the music I listen to can't be listened to at the pickleball courts. The
That's great.
gangster rap, Notorious Big.
Oh, that's right. Can I tell you a story about Notorious B.I.G.?
You absolutely can.
I'm gonna tell you a story. You'll love this story. When I played football at the University of Cincinnati, at that time they were recruiting guys Sonar all the way out from the East Coast. So most of the guys I played with were from Brooklyn and the Bronx. And one time I was in the locker room, and this dates how old I am. And they're like, Joe, man, we know your family owns radio stations, man. We got this little tape here. This guy's going to be the greatest rapper of all time. And I said, well, can I see a picture of him? And they showed me a picture of him. And I said, man, that guy looks like Grimace from McDonald's. It was this great, big black guy. He was huge. And I thought, okay, let me hear it. And they played his tape, and I thought, wow, you know, that's pretty good. The guy's really, you can really flow. Like, oh, you just don't get it, Joe. You have no idea. That's my cousin. I grew up with them. All these guys were like gathered around. They said, you don't understand, Joe. He will be the greatest rapper of all time. And I thought, well, okay, I tell you what, give me the tape. I don't know if I could get my stepfather to play this, because my stepfather was the first one ever to broadcast Muzak in the grocery stores. I don't know if you know that, Sonar. So he liked beautiful music. So I don't know if Biggie Smalls was, but I said, give me the tape. But I remember it vividly, and you could make the argument, man. So yeah, so
Right
and the rest is history on
when he
Biggie
did
Smalls.
The intro to our show, he's like, "Oh, we got some rap."
I know he liked that. He liked that. And
What about
and
you, TK?
yeah, how about you,
Yeah,
TK?
so I'm more of a Bob Seger, Jimmy Buffett, Van
Let's
Halen.
get-
I grew
Van
up-
Halen, I love it, brother.
Van Halen, yeah.
Jump.
That's our age.
Def Leppard, yeah, all the hair bands. And I will say, the other day when I was actually playing with my son and his friends, they needed another player a couple nights ago, and they turned on some NWA for me,
Wow.
which was that back in the day.
Easy.
And I was singing it word for word. They're
And they're like,
"What
how
are
do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, for both of you, I'll start with you, Scott. Past and present. This is a question that Denise put together for us. Past or present, who is that one person that Scott Howard would love to have a cup of coffee with or pick their brain? We've had great answers. You know, we've had some people have said, "Hey, Joe, it's with my religion is Jesus Christ." We've had
He was the first one.
Yeah, Matt was the first with that. We've had Muhammad Ali. We've had all kinds. We had you know, Coach Abs last week mentioned his dad and his grandfather,
Yeah.
which I thought was beautiful. But for Scott Howard, past or present, who is that one individual that you would love to sit down and pick their brain or have a cup of coffee with?
It's a deep question. I'm just gonna go with the obvious because he knows who I use as sort of a muse, and that's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd love to just pick his brain and understand his level of competitiveness.
Oh yeah, and people forget sometimes about Michael
That
Jordan.
shows
He's
his
got
competitiveness.
well, Michael Jordan was the most competitive guy,
Yeah.
and Michael Jordan got cut from what was it? His
Ninth grade team.
ninth grade team,
JV
man.
team,
Yeah.
or varsity team. He was
I
on
know.
JV as a sophomore, but he got cut from varsity.
I just thought it was funny. He was 50 years old and he got pissed off the guys playing for the Wizards. I'm not sure, it was the Bobcats, he took his shirt off at 50 years old and came out and just ran him up and down the court. You know, he was that competitive at 50. But how about you, TK? What's that one individual that TK Herman would like to?
So I'm in a business group in Nashville. And I was there the last couple of days, and this was the question actually to open up the meeting.
Yeah.
And my answer was Elon Musk. I'm a big Elon Musk fan.
Yep.
You know, he's the Thomas Edison of our time for
He
sure.
is.
That's
Twitter.
Yeah, that's one for sure. But I will tell you, super exciting opportunity that I have tomorrow. That actually I'm taking one of our kids down to. We're going to Memphis, Tennessee tomorrow to hang out with RFK Jr.
Oh my gosh, let's go, man!
Yeah.
Man, that's exciting.
Yeah, so
Man, you
that'll
know
be
what?
fun,
I want to
yeah.
hang out with TK, man. RFK Jr., pickleball. I mean, that's exciting, man.
So
yeah.
I've
Think of
watched
the
him a lot,
history.
and-
Think of like the history that RFK Jr. what he touches and what he expands as American history.
Even if you're not a fan of his politics or other things, to your point, if you listen to him talk, I mean, he's extremely intelligent, and just the stories he's recounted on some of these long form podcasts he's been on about memories when his uncle was president, his dad was running for president, and the people that are at his house. It's pretty incredible. So
I have a feeling that he's going to be vice president.
Boy,
to Trump.
Yeah. Boy, I'd love that
Because
ticket.
Trump,
Well, I don't know if you know, Trump and his
JFK were best. Jr. were best friends.
Trump and JFK Jr.
I
were
did not know that.
absolute
Best
friends.
friends.
I mean, like couldn't peel them apart. Best
Yeah.
friends. And Trump went into a deep depression for the first time in his life when JFK Jr. when his plane went down. That was
Plus, Trump hired him when he was in office.
yeah. Well,
Guys, I got the last question.
go ahead.
I know you guys are extremely busy. What do you guys watch? Do you watch Netflix? And if you do, what do you watch?
you go first on that one.
Put you on the spot, Scott. You've had good. I tell you what, though, you had the answer, Scott.
I need to pull my phone out.
Well, if it's Netflix, it's Ozark, but as a show in general, it's Succession.
My biggest problem with Ozarks was the ending. I was never so mad at a TV show the way that show ended.
I like the ending of the season right before that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, well, so I'm actually completely drawing a blank. So my wife and I definitely binge watch a lot of episodes of different things. So Succession's one that I like. I like that more than she likes it. Ozark was clearly a favorite of ours. We watched episodes of Black Mirror. I think that's interesting.
Did you ever watch Peaky Blinders?
I've never seen it. I tried that once.
That's
I just couldn't get into it that much.
The first 5 episodes, you got to really pay attention.
Okay.
Number 6? It gets going.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. It does. So great answers, guys. And I tell you, it's pickleball night, baby. And once again, you can't have 260 pickleball
And now they get
without Abby and Matt.
Yep, get interviewed by Abby and Matt and get the side of the pickleball.
That's right. Dave and I are going to step away. And coming up next on the 260, the one and only Abby and Matt Brandenburger. We're going to talk a little more pickleball with Scott Howard and TK Herman.
All right, welcome back. This is the 260. And if you're wondering why Joe got a little less swole and Dave got a lot better looking, let's be honest. I've only been working on that line for like the last half hour. So. But my name is Matt Brandenberger. We were mentioned a few times in that. It was a little... were you a little like embarrassed?
No, I loved it.
You loved it? You loved every minute of it. Yeah, but we have a podcast called Hoosier Pickleball's One More Game. Mm-hmm. And so we were on here once before, and they asked us to come back and kind of interview you guys, talk some more pickleball. So we really enjoyed listening to the first segment, but now it's our turn to kind of talk more the pickleball side of things, kind of from a perspective of some players here in Fort Wayne. We've known Scott here for last 6 months or so. Have gotten to know Scott and played in some same circles as him, and I can't even describe to you guys how giddy I am like listening to that. I knew a little bit, but I learned a lot just in the last half hour listening to the interview you guys did. And I just want to say thanks, first of all. Like, what you guys are bringing to Fort Wayne is awesome, and the fact you're doing it right is just, it's cool. I mean, full disclosure, this has been a dream of Abby and I's to do. I don't have either of your business minds.
Or the money. So we're like, what rich people can we find to do this instead of us? Right. We nailed it.
Right. But when we looked at it, it was like, let's just find any crummy warehouse and just put it together. But I love what you said in terms of you're wanting to do this right. Yeah. You're wanting to create an experience. So
the Mercedes-Benz.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So first of all, thank you.
Yeah. You're more than welcome. We couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
So maybe just kind of starting out, we want to not get too much into the weeds. You know, there's probably some things that you can't give us full disclosure on, or you're still kind of learning as you go. But I'm very interested in the courts and the fact that you, again, are doing it right. You didn't just say, you know what, we can just slap on the court on top of the hardwood. It's going to save us a lot of money, and we'll make it work. You're tearing it up from the ground up. As we came up the stairs, we saw, you know, they're starting to work on that, or at least looking at the surface. And it's a project. I mean, it's going to take some time.
It's going to be a big project, yeah. Yeah.
So I know, kind of talk to us about what that's going to look like, the process of tearing that out, and then just a little bit about, we don't have to nerd out too much on, you know, the 10 layers of the court, but just what's that really going to look like?
Yeah, so they're going to pull. This is where it's hard to say, especially in a show with Steve Alford and Mary Bird sitting behind us, right? Because this is such an iconic building and such an iconic location. And I know if you read some of the comments on say Wayne TV's post when they posted an article about this, there's a lot of people that are upset. Yeah. At the same time, though, I'll be honest with you, these courts don't get a lot of play, you know. But it's an iconic building, so we're very cognizant of that, right? But unfortunately, the courts do have to come up, you know, and there's going to be a fair amount of repair that has to be done to the concrete below it, because the courts are screwed into the concrete, so we have to fill in the holes. Everything gets acid washed, and then there's a multi-layer process to put down the courts. So these courts, and I couldn't tell you all the different layers, but they'll be as professional grade as any professional tennis facility that you walk into. It's not an inexpensive. It's not going to be inexpensive to pull the courts up, and it's certainly not inexpensive to put the new courts down. But it's going to be nice for sure.
Here's one of the things that you mentioned that I really love is that you have some courts, you know, over here, and then but you're going to have a center court, and I think that, I mean, Fort Wayne doesn't have that ability to have like a center court with stands so people can watch. And this is so goofy, but I played in a center court once for a gold medal match in Florida at Pictona. Yeah,
it's a different energy.
It was a completely different game. It felt like being center court with, you know, the score on the video. I mean, I love so much that you thought of that.
Yeah, that was Scott's idea. I got to give him credit for
Scott.
that.
Yeah, thanks.
Scott's like, I like center court. I'm going to be there.
No, I more than just even great players like you, and I did actually watch that match. It was impressive. But it's really more keep giving everybody that experience. Like, so not everybody's going to reach that level of tournament status and get to that center court. So, if you come to Ace Pickleball, and I'm guessing there might be a waiting list, but if you get on there, you get to kind of experience that with the scoreboard. With hopefully we can have live streaming and put all the right technology in place, and like I said, make someone feel like maybe a pro athlete for a day. So.
That's cool, and I love that you're not just holding that court off for when you do host a tournament, but you're a regular member. You come in, and you might have to wait a little bit, but you can get on that court.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. So, kind of maybe talk a little bit about the logistics. I don't know if price points have been set or how that will look compared to, I know, the facility that's opening next week in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I've seen some fee structure there. Will it be similar for here, or is that still kind of?
It'll be similar, but we're not really sure exactly what that'll look like just yet. So, for us as a business, there's multiple revenue streams. One is membership that will have a lot of advantages for people that want to be members. There'll also be drop-in opportunities, drop-in rates. Yep. So if you're not a member, you can still come and play. And then obviously if you're playing, and I equate it to it's like buying a car wash pass, right? Sure. So if I go to the car wash more than 3 times in a month, then it's worth getting the membership kind of thing. And then we'll have clinics and camps for people that want to learn how to play or want to up their game and get a little better. Again, still working on figuring out how that'll all shape out, and hopefully we can get a lot of advice and input from you guys on that. And then there'll be obviously leagues and tournaments that we'll do, and then we're also going to do a glow. So if anybody's been to Sky Zone before on a Friday or Saturday night, lights go off, black lights go on. We'll have that as an option for us also to do different things, on a Friday or Saturday night to kind of build a different vibe into the park and attract some younger people to come in and play.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I heard you in the first part of this talking about there is such a big pickleball. Part of the draw is the community feel of meeting new people and having friends and having fun. So I'm interested in, is there going to be open play or times where you get to meet new people, because that's why people go to the outdoor courts and stuff, is to kind of mix in and make new friends.
And again, all of this is brand new, so I don't know the specifics of how it's all going to work, but 100% I think that's one of the fun things about pickleball, to your point, is meeting new people and then all sharing kind of that common interest, and being able to say, hey, I'm just going to show up here and I want to go play. I can see that there are open slots, or I can see that there are opportunities. I show up, whether it's I put my paddle up or however I end up doing that, and hop in the game and meet new people. I think that there's tremendous opportunity for that.
Yeah. Well, can I just ask a follow-up with that then, is eating afterwards? Yeah. I'd heard, is there going to be a restaurant here? Or?
So there's not in Ace Pickleball. Okay. So there are establishments they're called Eatertainment. So, like a Dave & Buster's, for example, would be an entertainment type facility, and there are establishments around the country that are focused on pickleball. So one's called Chicken and Pickle.
Yeah, sure.
So Chicken and Pickle is coming to Indianapolis. In fact, I would love for them to come to Fort Wayne. We don't actually view that as competition for us because it's a different product. We actually, I would love, for example, Chicken and Pickle to come to Fort Wayne, because that's going to introduce even more people to the game. Then if you become more competitive and want to play more, because they don't have the number of courts that we would have, right? And there's plenty of opportunity for that. So what is unique though about the space and location here at Spiece is right next door where the fitness center used to be is going to be a new family entertainment venue called Adrenaline. Okay. So it's going to be very Sky Zone-esque, no trampolines, but it's going to be be geared both towards kids and adults. So it'll have things like a warrior course or a ninja course or different things. And then there'll be adult things too, as well as, like, for example, indoor golf simulators, axe throwing. I think they're talking about duck pin bowling. But as part of that, they're going to have a more elaborate cafe where you can get more than just sort of finger food kind of things. And at some point in time, I don't know what stage it's in, but they've talked about putting potentially a bar in there as well. Okay. So that'll be unique to Ace Pickleball in Fort Wayne, having that right next door, even though it's not part of our facility.
Well, and as fellow parents of 5 kids, we want to involve our children in our hobby, and we have. And I think they love and hate it at the same time. But I love that we can have a family night. This is family friendly, not just
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
So we will have a cafe here, but it's going to be prepackaged drinks and prepackaged food.
Mm-hmm.
And then if people want more than that, they'll be able to go right next door.
And really, you're saying next door, but it's really under one roof, right?
It's all under one roof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's what 35 steps away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Scott, question for you. I love the input even you talked about with your idea with the center court that TK gave you credit for. So how much input have you had as you've kind of been developing this? And kind of a second part of that question is, how much are you guys able to kind of do your own thing, or are you under, the umbrella of Ace, who is a newer franchise? Are they saying, no, you got to do this, or can you kind of do your own thing?
Yeah, so being on the ground up and being one of the early adopters of the franchise, it's given us a lot of sway in what we do. I would say because they haven't actually formulated any of this out, we can really go with our strategy, and I really think it's kind of a two-lane strategy. It's one, we have to create a spot that's known for good pickleball, but then at the same time keep the social aspect of it. So everything that we're dedicating our philosophy to, how we're building the business, how we're investing in the center court, the whole nine is all dedicated to create that center mecca. And everything we've ever ran by the Ace guys, and I've hung out with them pretty extensively. I went to a conference with them. It's everything I've ran by them. They're all for. So, and they're pickleball players themselves. So they get the significance of
Can you beat them though?
I haven't found out yet. We're supposed to find out here soon.
Next weekend we're going to be in Atlanta, but I think there's a lot of advantages to being part of a franchise, and part of the reason people join a franchise is because things have been figured out, and you can just kind of check the boxes along the way. So we've had the conversation Scott and I have that hey, us going into this is so brand new that not all that's going to be figured out. It's going to be kind of evolving along the way, which will be a little more work on our part. At the same time, being early in like this gives you input.
Sure.
Right. That for example, if we were the 100th park to open, we wouldn't have that kind of input.
Right.
They
You could be an
this.
industry leader.
Yeah.
You can,
Yeah. So we've the CEO of Ace. I text him almost on a daily basis. Asking questions and different things. So
That's great.
Yeah.
So a couple things that I wanted to ask just in terms of just logistical things from a play standpoint. I think at one point I've heard, and I don't know if these are rumors or not, that it would be like a 24/7 access, that you could come at any time, fob in. Is that accurate? Is that not accurate?
No, I would say the hours that I saw for Georgia is going to be the same, 6 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
In time, I
Yeah.
think I would like to get to that point just because, I know people try to play before work. There's just all kinds of hours, but it just depends on what the data shows.
That makes sense. And again, from a standpoint of, you may not know this exactly yet, but will the fee structure be such that you could have a membership to use your car wash analogy, right? I have a Mike's membership to the car wash, for the winter months, so my black truck can get washed, but then during the summer months, I'll wash it myself outside. Same kind of idea. There's going to probably be players that want to play during the winter months when the weather's not great, can't get outside at all, and then others that say, well, I'll just take my chances playing outside during the summer. Is that?
Yeah, I would say some of that's still TBD.
Yeah.
And there may be advantages. My thought process, there may be advantages for the person that commits to the whole year.
Sure.
And so it may cost a little more if you want a shorter membership time period. But I think that once people feel the experience of this indoors, that they'll probably want to keep playing indoors. Just because, for example, again. So I have a court at my house. It's lit at night. Well, I can tell you right now. Last night there was a ton of mosquitoes outside.
And wind.
We played last night.
Yeah,
it was so
wind,
windy.
And then a couple weeks ago, when it was in the 90s, it's just super hot. Yeah. And so I think that there'll be a lot of opportunity for people to continue the play without the disruption of the weather.
Yeah,
even the summer
I've said
months.
that before as well. Even though roughly we have 6 months ish to play outdoors. The last 2 or 3 times we've played, we either battled heavy winds, heat, or
You had to move inside.
yeah, we had to move
because it was
inside
raining.
one time. 'Cause
so.
it
Or
started
no
raining.
oxygen.
Right, or there's wildfires somewhere.
Wildfires, right?
Literally.
Scott actually helped us make a good decision a couple
Right,
weeks
and
ago.
we went indoors.
Yes, that's right. Forgot
Yeah.
about
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I actually need an on-air commitment from you. You had said you were going to be part of my permanent court time.
Oh, yeah.
And
I will be.
Are we for this
that.
next
That
year?
depends if it
Yes,
opens in
yeah.
October.
That's my
or
concern. If
December.
this opens in October, I need you, Scott.
Yeah, no, I will definitely still be a part of that time.
Then I have to find somebody else, and that's exhausting.
No.
Okay.
No. And that's the part of Ace that's going to be awesome. You shouldn't have to do that level of planning. So.
Very fair. Yeah.
And while you're on a roll, you might as well ask TK for the
Right.
other commitment that
Listen.
you want to get on air.
When do we get to play at your courts?
Hey, well, my wife and I are not that good, so
But it's fun either way, right?
perfect. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
No matter who or level, it is fun.
Yes.
Part
you
of the
guys are in.
marketing rollout plan is he's got to come out and start playing with the public.
Yeah, you did say that.
Pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Meet
yeah.
everybody.
All right, so all right, you
Kiss
guys are coming over.
babies.
Yeah.
All right.
My
Meet
wife's out of
people.
town right now, but when she gets back,
Okay.
you're
So
coming
tonight
over.
doesn't work then. you're saying.
You have lights. I don't see the problem.
That's great. I love it. And I mean, so you've even seen some of that, not playing a ton yet, but it's something you and your wife have been able to connect with.
Oh yeah, we enjoy it, and again, just having friends over.
Right.
We've been inconsistent this year, but last year, I can't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursdays. We did it one night every week.
That's awesome.
And it was kind of like whoever shows up shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, technically, that never followed through, so that's why I jumped onto the pickleball community to get my fix.
That's right. So, that's amazing. And what I love about it, and it just speaks to how great a businessman you are, is we're talking about how quickly this has happened. So you're kind of running through the timeline with me before the show. You know, Scott, you've only been playing a year. So
Yeah, since September.
when I found
Since
that out,
September?
that kind of scared me, Abs. If I'm being honest, because I think Scott and I are built a lot alike in terms of our mentality, not in terms
think
of
that's
our
fair.
of our physique.
Well, that's also fair.
Just
Two
to be
fair statements.
Just to be fair, Scott was voted on our big.
Did you know this?
Did he see this?
He wasn't on it.
He saw it.
Did you
No,
see
I
it?
didn't.
Oh, okay.
and
He was
kind of scared to hear that.
Somebody
said
asked
most likely to be an
American Ninja Warrior.
Right.
And I said Matt Brandenburger.
Right.
Well,
obviously joking. Everybody laughed at that and
Right.
said it's obviously Scott Howard.
right.
So,
Did you know that?
Right.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So there you go. But
Well, I have to tell you. So we play with this group of guys that we work together on Thursday mornings, and here's what happens. Scott shows up. First off, he's usually like 10 minutes late, but he shows up.
Yes, he is.
He shows up, and whatever team he's on usually wins.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's like, "Hey, can I go work out? Because we have a pretty big gym at our house."
Oh, man.
And then he goes out and works out. Yeah.
That's awesome.
doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
But his mentality. Go ahead.
I know. I was saying I've left a few times. I've told my wife, "Hey, if you see the lights on out in the building, it's Scott out
It's
there."
probably Scott.
That's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Scott, having only played, how many months? 8-9 months. I mean, you're well on your way to. You're
Yeah.
just a little bit behind me, but you're going to surpass me before too long.
No,
I'm sure.
I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
a compliment.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Abs, what else?
Yeah. No, I'm just also really excited. You're like living my dream
Yeah.
of doing something like this. So
Really cool.
really excited.
So any way we can be involved, consultants, instructors, you let us know.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
talk more off air on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's talk more about the design piece of it, though. So you're business guys. The bottom line is money. You want to make money, but I truly believe in talking to you, and Scott, I know you enough to know you do have a heart for growing the game and making this take off here in Fort Wayne. So how do you balance that line between, fitting enough courts in here, yet still having enough courts to make money and to do well from the business side of things? Because ideally you would want a bunch of space in between each court. You
Right,
can't
because
do
we
that.
want an ATP, right?
Right.
We don't want to have to thread the needle. We want the space for the ATP.
Yeah. So you'd have 22 court or 21 courts because of the championship court. Are there standards that ACE gave you in terms of length, space between courts?
I'll let you speak to specifics, but they definitely, I think that's a good thing about them. They put thought into it. They have architects who already have been given the background of kind of what the game is. And again, the CEO plays, both the owners play, and they understand the importance of being able to do an ATP.
Yeah.
And I don't remember off the top of my head the dimensions, but in Spiece here we will have about half the courts are called premium courts, so they have a lot more line space, and then the other ones are like regular courts. And I can't remember the dimensions of each of those. But and I'll have to
You can
ask
do ATPs on both.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
That's
perfect.
what's important.
Because there is
Yeah.
fencing in between, which is
Right.
nice because
Yeah.
it's always a fine line, though, is how close is the fencing so the balls don't go rolling away. But if they're too close, then you're.
You'd like to-
Yeah, there is
The most mad I ever made Abby on a pickleball court is when I hit maybe my best serve I ever had right in the corner and sent her into the fence. I slept on the couch that night, but
So
the serve was
rude.
great.
Because I could have gotten it if
Right.
the fence literally wasn't
Right.
there.
No, you should have no mercy, right? I understand.
No mercy.
That's my mentality. That doesn't always work out for me, though.
Sweep the leg.
Well, okay, I got to tell you a quick story. So my wife again is brand new to pickleball, and we'll go out and hit the ball and that kind of stuff. And so
Yeah.
we had this family tournament I mentioned earlier over the 4th of July weekend, and so we draw these names. And so the first match is myself and it's like a cousin's husband, and he's. I don't know, he's got to be like 6'3", right? And but he was in the pile of never played pickleball before.
Yeah.
And so then it's my wife and our niece. And our niece, she's very athletic. Didn't play tennis. I don't think maybe she played tennis. I can't remember, but very athletic, and she's played pickleball before. So we start playing, and the dude that I'm playing with is freaking good. And my wife's like, what the hell? Like, he's just whacking it
Where'd
back.
he come from?
Yeah, and his wife is there. She goes, oh, he forgot to tell you he was the #1 singles tennis player in high school and college.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, come on. and it was crazy too because he was showing no mercy at all, and I felt bad, like I was hitting it to her
Right.
so she could hit back, and I felt bad, but he wanted to win. We did.
I get that.
That's
I think,
that guy.
I think Scott does too. Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Color scheme, similar to what we saw in Atlanta and the specs there.
Yeah. Yep. Same color scheme. Yeah. We are. We'll probably be a little bit off on a few things here, just because we're trying to. For example, not have to paint all the walls, for example. So we're trying to fit as much as we can that's existing here into the look and the feel. And we very likely will keep a few things. So like the center scoreboard here, the basketball scoreboard was actually from Assembly Hall. So we've had conversations about, should we just leave that up there as sort of an homage, to what it used to be, or I don't know yet. We haven't decided on all those things. But
Will there be merchandise or I don't know, shirts and paddles and shoes or?
Yep. So we'll have a pro shop. It's not going to be a huge pro shop, but we'll for sure have pro shop. Certainly paddles. Certainly some clothing, apparel. I don't know shoes. I'm not sure to what extent, but we'll definitely have a pro shop.
Yeah. Would you have stuff that people could borrow
yes.
for the day?
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
And paddles if they want to try out new paddles. and that
Sure,
kind of
like
stuff.
demo
Yeah.
paddle for the
Yeah.
day. That's a great resource
Yeah.
to have because
Yeah.
people I feel like are always asking, what paddle should I use? And it's like, that is just so personal.
Yeah.
So to be able to demo something here
Yep.
would be really convenient.
Yeah.
That'll be great. Yeah, I'm sure you'll have vendors that are knocking at your door.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of again being part of a franchise.
Right.
So these guys at the corporate level are having all those conversations for us and building all those relationships, with the vendors and with the MLP and the PPA and all that. So, our goal ultimately is to host a professional tournament here.
Yeah, that'd be so
we think
fun.
that'd be amazing to see if we could do that. And I don't know if that will happen, but I do know that the guys that are behind ACE have the contacts and have the relationships with those people.
Yeah.
So it's
And if we're talking that right here, we have the largest indoor facility east of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
then it
Right.
seems like a logical place to go.
So
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
You talked about the expansion of this, and initially you're talking 4 facilities kind of in the Midwest here, hoping to get to 10. Are you thinking that there would be more than one facility here in Fort Wayne, or with the size of this, is it
with the size
probably-
of this, our intention is just this one. So Fort Wayne would definitely support 2 facilities, but we basically have combined 2 into 1.
Yeah.
And we feel like where Spiece is located, it's so
Oh
central.
my gosh! Like you could not have gotten a better location.
Yeah, and so from the far southwest side of town, I actually Google mapped it. It's 16 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and from the far north side of town, you're probably 11, 12 minutes. Yeah. So it's very, 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 very convenient.
As long as they figure out 69 construction.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Or there's not an accident or something.
Right. Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome though. So, yeah, to find this place, I mean, that what a blessing to have one central location that's so perfect. So,
Yeah.
agreed. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
I am curious to know a little bit more about that connection to the MLP and kind of how that could come about. Are there the other big tours are the PPA and the APP? Any talks with them about having?
I mean, we
a
have opinions
facility?
about those, though, so you could ask our opinion.
On which tours
Yeah.
we prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which do you prefer?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we had a bad experience at a PPA event.
Everybody has a bad experience at a PPA
Yeah,
event.
there's been a lot of that. But really thinking about it, I don't think there's many of those that are ever at indoor facilities. And so,
No, they're in Cincinnati, and it rained all day on the day I was
So
supposed to play.
so this is we're talking for sure outside of my level of knowledge on the relationships of the leagues and the different leagues.
Sure.
But I do know. So Jay Dietrich, who's the CEO of ACE, he was at was it an MLP event in San Clemente a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
He was there, and he was sharing with me that. I don't know if it's next year but in the near future they're going to move all those tournaments indoors.
Yep. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because they're tired of fighting with the weather, and then
Right.
also at this point in time too, when you have contracts with CBS, ESPN,
Right.
Amazon Prime, and so forth, it really screws things
Yeah.
up. If there's a weather delay.
And it really is a wiffle ball.
Right.
I mean, it's highly affected. It's not a tennis ball.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very affected by the wind, and it can be very frustrating. to deal with.
Unfortunately, I mean, even a 15, 20 mile an hour wind makes the game
It does. It
different.
makes
Yeah.
it different.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes pretty frustrating. Unlike, even golf, if it's windy like that, you can still play. You can still, manipulate your game. But
I would say even in golf that's part of the game. I don't
Yeah.
think in pickleball that's part of the game.
right.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Although I kind of like playing it because I was a golfer, and so I like that.
Well, because when the
element.
wind's at your back, you can hit it harder.
Right. Exactly.
That's exactly what he does.
I'll learn one of these days. Abby, what else? I think the thing that I am maybe most excited about, because I'm a guy who videos myself quite a bit, but then I have to go home and download it, upload it to YouTube to watch it later. But to have the access, this is really exciting. I know some of it's still a work in progress to figure out what that's going to look like, but the tech side of things, part of bringing a great experience to your customers, I think that's key. That's really cool.
And on one of our podcasts, we highly recommend videoing yourself
Yeah.
to figure out, how are my body mechanics off? What am I doing? Why am I missing that shot? Oh, my feet are in, I'm not split stepping or whatever.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there, but videoing yourself is really important to getting better, I think.
Yeah.
So that could improve.
Yeah, I agree,
of pickleball.
100%. The market research, you said you did a lot of market research. Talk a little bit about that. Did you enjoy that process? I bet there were some pretty crazy stats that you found.
Yeah, I think the three that I mentioned are the ones that I share the most. But again, there's definitely a risk, and I sort of went through the process when we did Sky Zone also, because Sky Zone was, in my opinion, a bigger gamble, a bigger risk, because
Really?
it was. Indoor pickleball is a very, very new concept and new business, but pickleball itself is not, right?
True.
But indoor trampoline parks, that was unheard of at the time. And part of what I went through during that business was, we had all the spreadsheets put together, and I just had a hard time wrapping my head around, are we really going to get this many people to come and jump on trampolines to hit these numbers? And we not only did that, we exceeded that on all of our parks. And so that's given me a little bit of comfort, having gone through that experience. The thing I'll tell you though too is that when we did Sky Zone, this was we were very early in the process, but I think we opened our first one like 10 or 11 years ago, and here in Fort Wayne. And when I had told a handful of my friends that are, successful business people, I definitely got some squinty eyes and some like, well, no, you're doing what? Now, are you sure?
Yeah.
And I will say that every single person that I have told this to, and I've told it to many very successful people, the immediate response is, that's an amazing idea. Yeah. That's a home run.
You nailed it. Yeah.
I mean, you picked Fort Wayne, which is a very cloudy, depressing atmosphere in the winter. And as a mom of 5 kids, I'm looking for somewhere for my kids to go.
Yeah.
We spent many hours at Sky Zone.
Thank you.
Because I needed them to move their bodies and to get out of the house and stop fighting with each other. And so that's what I would see with Ace is in the middle of December, like, oh my word, we need to get out of the house, the whole family, and go hit some balls.
Right.
Yep.
So you were contributing to the pickleball facility by going to Sky Zone. There you go.
You're
didn't even know
welcome.
it.
We had birthday parties there.
I thought you were about to ask them if they are going to have childcare here for the kids.
Are you
going to
have no.
we are not. But actually, the location in Louisville actually had a child care room. We actually were talking about that. I don't know if we're going to keep it or not. Yeah. But
I mean, that's something to think about.
Yeah, but back to your birthday party piece, I don't know. Like, that's not something that's really on our menu of services right now. But I could see us probably not birthday parties per se, but definitely corporate events.
For
I think
sure.
corporate events.
I think that's a
will be
Absolutely.
big opportunity for us for sure.
I mean, I already get asked to do a clinic for a corporation.
Okay.
So I mean, I think that's a moneymaker right there.
Yeah, to have this facility, I'll just be really interested, as you guys were talking, there was one guy down there dribbling a ball, shooting around, just thinking in my head, 12 months from now, Scott would say 2 months from now.
That's the goal.
He's right.
Yeah, we're going to hear, the sound of pickleball in here all over the place, and it'll just be really cool to see how many people come out and are playing, and I think as it continues to grow.
Mm-hmm. We definitely feel super fortunate and grateful that it's here in our hometown. I mean, it's 10 minutes from my house, probably 15 from his. Yeah. Because in the beginning, when we went into this venture, we did not think we were going to be able to put one in Fort Wayne. Yeah. We couldn't find a building, and so we had planned on building out these facilities and having to travel to them, and so being able to have one, because that was one of the things that I mentioned that I really wanted to try to see if we could get one in Fort Wayne, because there's something about the feel of going there and seeing it, right? Yeah. So when you're talking and having conversations about how to improve a process or create an efficiency or something like that, being there on a regular basis is helpful. And so being able to have really not just the flagship for the parks that we're going to build, but honestly, it's the flagship right now for the Ace brand.
Seriously,
That's
right
so
here
fun.
in Fort Wayne, Indiana, is a big deal for us. For us as operators.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I do think how we typically end a show.
Yes.
I mean, they do, what did they say? Fast, whatever.
Yeah, the rapid fire.
The rapid fire.
Yeah.
How we typically end our podcast is something that you love. So we usually say goofy things, but I don't know.
Doesn't have to be goofy, though.
If you want to start and let them think through something.
Okay, here you go. Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't tell you how excited I am.
I love pickleball.
I am. I feel like I've never met you, TK, before. I've heard your name 1,000 times.
We did call him. You said it in the car. He's like the Elon Musk of Fort Wayne.
That is hilarious that you said that.
And I was like, a big nerd.
I'm not going to let that go to his head.
No, that's how I describe you. So to get to meet you and what you guys are bringing, and again, you're not just these money-hungry guys looking to make a buck and put a subpar facility. You're doing it right, and we're going to have a world-class facility here. So. I mean,
you love pickleball.
I love pickleball, and I love what you guys are doing. So look forward to talking to you more.
I love the idea of having a place to play when it is windy and rainy.
Year round.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
What's a personal thing that you love, Scott?
I was going to say pickleball.
Your wife is always an option.
Well, I was literally about to say, I mean, it sounds pretty normal, but just hanging out with the wife and kids.
Awesome.
It's pretty much my favorite thing to do. So,
I don't know how many kids you have.
2.
Okay.
I have an older 23-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Okay.
You got 3 to go to match the rest of us. So.
I'll give you 2 things. So I'll give you the family side. So we've got 5 kids and a 3.5-year-old grandson, who is just a joy to have around. But we are at the a stage where we're almost empty nesters. So we have one. This will be the first August that we have nobody starting like elementary, middle, or high school.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, this is amazing. But we spend a lot of time with our grandson, and then on the personal side, I've got a lot of hobbies, but I've been a pilot for 26 years, and so that's my passion. My passion is aviation and flying. So I take advantage. And honestly, that's one of the things that I'm able to take advantage of for this business too, because we picked locations that we could fly to within a 30 or 4 minute flight.
That's awesome.
That way we can be there in the facility with relative ease.
Nice.
And be able to, and then I get to leverage a hobby to make that happen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Abby's dad was
and his passion is something I love the least, which is flying.
Oh my goodness.
Is that scary a little bit?
Oh yeah, I don't really love flying.
Well, don't watch what we just, our new favorite
gosh,
show is
yeah.
Hijacker.
Yeah, hijack. Yeah.
Hijacked.
Yeah,
Well,
on Apple TV Plus.
We don't have that problem on his plane. But
Well, the
26 knot winds we do.
I will one fast story to wrap things up. So one of the things you can do as a pilot is you can do what are called angel flights. Right? So somebody that has a medical emergency.
We have a friend who flies for them.
Yeah, and so I signed up with an organization called Lifeline Pilots, and I had never done one before. It's always been something I wanted to do. I just signed up for one, and in March I was going to do my first angel flight. It was flying a 10-year-old boy who has had brain cancer since he was like 6 or 4 to New York City for a checkup, and they live in Goshen, and I was flying him, his mother, and his 5-year-old sister. The dad was driving out there, and they were going to meet him out there because they were going to stay for a little while. And so actually I said, hey Scott, I'm going to do this angel flight. It's to New York City. There are 2 indoor pickleball facilities in New Jersey. Yeah. So let's drop them off, and then we'll go visit those and just do a little market research and some recon. Yeah. And so we go pick them up, and Scott does not like to fly. He's flown with me a gazillion times, but go pick him up. And I told him I'm getting him strapped in the plane, and I said, hey, just so you know, the wind out there, it's like really, really windy. And I said, so just so you know, when we come down to land, it's going to be a little bumpy. And like, okay.
A little bumpy.
Well, it was 2 hours and 45-minute flight. The first 2.5 hours was just butter smooth, like no bump, nothing. The last 15 minutes was literally the worst turbulence I have ever been in 26 years of my life. And it's to the point where I'm like concentrating on getting the plane on the ground, and I'm like, Scott, check on them. He turns around, the little girl's sobbing. It was a traumatic experience.
On the angel flight.
and to his credit, he held his composure while I'm actually freaking out inside. But as soon as he landed, he's like, "Oh my God, that was the worst I've ever been." It's like, oh,
The family's like, "What did we sign up?"
He never got asked to do that.
So we taxi up, and we all get out of the plane, and the dad comes walking out because he's already there, and he's like, "Hey!"
Yeah.
And everyone's quiet.
So what kind of makes it funny a little bit, it sucks the situation, but they advertise that in all the airports that we fly into. So almost every time I walk into that airport, there's a picture of the kid that he flew to just remind us.
You have like PTSD from it.
Like,
You're
oh,
like
no.
shaking.
Never doing that again.
Oh man, that's great. Well, hey guys, this was so much fun. Thanks so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah,
we really appreciate it.
Honestly, was super excited to work with you guys. Also, for sure. There's no doubt that you have way more knowledge on this industry than I do, and we need to surround ourselves. That's how we've always done things: is surround ourselves with people that are smarter than us.
That's not me, for the record.
On pickleball, it might be.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. So we are on the 260. So this was just a great episode for talking pickleball, talking about bringing pickleball even more to the 260. So TK,
you can
Scott.
subscribe to 260 on YouTube, and then we also are going to release this on our One More Game podcast.
Yep. And it is the number 26 and the letter O.
Because there are no zeros in Fort Wayne.
There are no zeros in Fort Wayne.
I like that.
That's right.
I like that.
That's
yeah.
right.
And we should have our Facebook page up for Ace Pickleball Club Fort Wayne.
Oh, cool.
In the next week or two.
Okay.
So we'll start doing some marketing here in the next couple of weeks.
Yep. So look out for Ace Pickleball Fort Wayne on Facebook.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Great.
And then One More Game is
More
our
Game.
podcast hosted by Hoosier Pickleball. So
Yep.
thanks for joining us. This was the 260, and we will see you next time.
It's the 260 Podcast, live from Spiece Fieldhouse every Thursday at 7 p.m., highlighting all Indiana sports, featuring guests from the 260 area code and beyond. Live on YouTube every Thursday at 7 p.m. Just search the 260, also available anywhere you find your podcasts. And remember, when searching, there are no zeros in the 260. It's the 260 Podcast, live from Spiece Fieldhouse every Thursday at 7 p.m.